let's move on. Let's talk about the World Championships. We've been doing a lot of off-season, been doing a lot of NA discussion. I've been looking at amateur quite a bit recently, but we're still in the middle of the World Championships. We've had a break since quarterfinals. Semis are tonight. And I've put out my predictions publicly already, so that's not going to be a surprise. But starting with Top Esports versus Suning, my prediction here is 3-1 for Top Esports. My reasoning there, I think a lot of people have opinions in both directions. I think Top Esports are, by default, kind of considered to be the better team. 2 finals in the LPL. They won summer. They were probably the number 1 tournament favorites coming in, and haven't really done much to dispel that favorite status. Going down 2-0 to Fnatic is a bit of a blow, but they came back. They looked really convincing in bringing it back and winning the series. I think, if you look at Top Esports as the favorite, the way they're going to make it happen is by winning through their solo lanes. This has always been the way they've played. Dominant solo lanes, kind of a bot lane that doesn't lose, and Karsa facilitating everything, and then Jackie Love comes in as the insurance later on for their team fighting. I think that's still the recipe that'll bring TES through this series. I do think there are ways Suning win. When they've been winning at this tournament, it's often been through good team fighting and through SFM jungle snowballs and just controlling the map better, getting huge farm leads, these kinds of things. They like to look for early ganks into the mid lane from their jungler and support, helping Angel get ahead. This has been a big help for why Angel has statistically outperformed his lane matchups. The recent kind of caps focused episode of Run It looked at adjusted golden experience difference at 10 minutes based on champion matchups, and Angel's numbers are far better than you'd expect based on the champion matchups he's been playing. I think the jungle and support attention has been a pretty good part of that. But I also think that Knight is not going to give up those kinds of leads the way that even Caps did, which is partly based on the playstyle Caps brought in, but also just Angel playing well. I think that Knight is going to match up harder in lane for Angel. I think he's going to play the 1v1 harder than Caps is so map focused, and I think that's going to limit Suning quite a bit. I think you have to put Suning's win in context as well of when a Gangplank gets a level 1 Sheen and goes into lane with that item, completely the rest of the game is irrelevant. Bin has done very well in Gangplank in other games as well. I think we'll see some Gangplank bans. I don't think he's going to be able to do the same things in this series against TES. And I also think Suning don't have a Hylissang or a Mickey X style support who can really bring that kind of dynamic, very, very active playmaking in. Sword Art is really good, but he's just not the same kind of explosive, dynamic player as those 2 European supports, and those supports I think have been a big part of attacking TES. So those are the reasons that I'm feeling 3-1. I think this series could go 3-0 to 3-2. I think if Suning win it, it's probably a 3-2, but for TES, I think 3-1, 3-0. And I'm leaning towards TES taking this one. And finally, Damwon Gaming against G2 Esports. This is a series that is so heavily anticipated. You just have to look at Fion's tweets. He's just all over it. Greatest thing he's ever seen since Faker was born. It's going to be a really fun series, and I think there are a lot of opinions on both sides of this one. My feeling is Damwon 3-1. I've been saying since, I came into Worlds with Top Esports as my number 1 team, Damwon probably number 2, maybe number 3. I wasn't entirely sure there. After watching Damwon in 1 week and then going back and reviewing a few more of their VODs from somewhere more closely when I hadn't watched LCK that closely, I watched them a little more closely with a little more context, and I pretty quickly became convinced, Damwon's the number 1 team here. And that hasn't changed at all. And I think G2 coming in, yes, they looked fairly convincing against Gen G, and maybe that, starts to swing some opinion, but even after that series, my impression right away was, hey, Fnatic 2-3ing Top Esports was actually much more impressive than G2 3-0ing Gen G based on the way that series went. G2 benefited a ton from BDD playing very badly. And, I don't say this to take away credit from G2 or to take away credit from Caps, because they capitalized on what was in front of them and they did a very good job with that. But you do have to acknowledge that when BDD is making these terrible side lane plays that really turn the game against them, when he's trying to receive these ganks that, you know, are just bad decisions. You can go back to the G2 Genji VOD review I did. I think the clip is still there, and look at a lot of these things that we highlighted that were just Genji not playing well and BDD specifically really not playing well. And Showmaker's not going to give up that level of you know, unforced error, at least not that many times. I think G2 will find openings. You know, I mentioned Mickey X talking about the previous series, and there are other players in that team who are really dynamic and can find these openings and kind of force things you wouldn't expect them to be able to force. But I think that's enough to win one game against Damwon, but Damwon are too controlled and too clean, and I believe they they can, you know, win out their early games and not expose their mid games as much as Genji did. And so G2, I think, yeah, dynamic enough, skilled enough, creative enough to find one win, but I think Damwon are going to look relatively comfortable overall in the series, and that's where I kind of land a 3-1 on that one. So I'm really excited to watch both of these. I think even if I'm fairly confident in my predictions, there are lots of ways that the series could go either way. If G2 snowball a bit, if they find openings in level 1s or anything like that, you know, I did see the Shakarez video that he put out today about Genji's level 1s and how G2 attacked it. I really don't think Damwon are going to be as vulnerable, but maybe G2 get even more creative and find openings there. So yeah, both series could go either way. I'm leaning 3-1 for towards the favorites in both cases, but I can't wait to watch it.